be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe.
Yes, people, welcome back to the channel for a brand new stream. We've got all that Champions League business out of the way. We've forgotten about the Copenhagen game, and we now move on to the blockbuster game every single season. This game is an absolute cracker. Regardless of how each team is doing, this game is absolutely sensational to watch. Always a great game of football. And I said to you last night in stream, I said we had a big guest coming on today. There's no one more Scouse. There's no one more Liverpool through and through than the man beside me right now, Mr. James Redmond. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for getting me on, lad. First of all, congratulations on all the work that you've done on the channel. Absolutely unbelievable. Great community that you've built there. And congratulations for staying good at footy, because that's something that we weren't able to maintain. But best believe, even though a lot of it is gone, whatever little part of my chest that I do have left, I will bring to this stream with full energy and force. So I'm looking forward to getting into it with you, lad. I'm
glad to see you're not feeling too negative about the whole Liverpool situation. I know you're probably feeling a little bit better.
7 goals. We just got 7 goals.
I was about to say.
It was against Rangers. Who cares? It was 7 goals. Salah got the quickest hat-trick in Champions League history. That's something that the best of the best players haven't done. Haaland will probably end up doing it at one point. But besides the point, it was just a nice reminder that we have still got quality within the team. And I suppose if there's any way that you're going to beat Rangers, I just think that's the way that you want to do it if you're going to be playing against Manchester City, because it was a lose-lose. It's like it's a game you should win, and if you do win, it doesn't really give you any confidence for City, and if you lose, then that's even worse. But the only way it can give you even an ounce of confidence for the next game is if you dominate the game. And first half we were shocking, second half we were much better, and if we bring that intensity week in, week out, we're just a significantly difficult team more difficult team to deal with.
We were having that chat in our stream last night. We were saying, is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it indifferent that Liverpool battered Rangers 7-1? And I said to you before we went live, whenever I see Rangers get battered, as an Irishman, I'm pretty happy. I'm not a big fan of that club. So in a way, I was kind of like, you know what? Well done, Liverpool. And you touched on Mo Salah there. I think I'm not going to say it has a huge bearing on the game, because granted, Rangers aren't the best opposition, but you must feel that it was the right time for Salah to get that big thing. You know, a 6-minute hat-trick isn't an easy thing to achieve, regardless of who it's against. Do you think that has come at the right time for Liverpool?
There's never a wrong time to score a hat-trick, and especially when you've been out of form as well. I think it's massive that Salah just builds on what he's been doing. You know, just what he's been doing is playing out wide and not really executing and getting the majority of chances that the team would want to be feeding towards him. We played him a lot more centrally against Rangers. It was just well better. He was actually getting on the end of chances. He was taking a few more risks, trying to take on more players, not just trying to pass the ball, which, listen, as much as I love Mo Salah, passing is not a strong point. And even though he can get assists, it's the same positions he can get into to get assists. He can do that and get even more goals than assists that he would get. So I think we need to play him on the inside of the right. I think last year at Anfield he caused a lot of problems as well. Let's just hope he can find even a glimmer of that, Mohamed Salah, because if so, then that's a guaranteed goal at least. And at the moment, I don't know how we're even getting a goal against you. So
what do you think the issue has been for Mo Salah this season? I found it a really interesting one, because if we're being totally real, I think you'd be honest yourself when you say that he's not been at his best since the AFCON, has he? He really hasn't looked his best. And then there was obviously the whole speculation around his contract situation. Will they, won't they? Will Liverpool give him the cash he wants? Then you lose Mane, who was obviously a massive goal outlet for you as well. You bring in Darwin Nunez. There's a lot of change going on. How do you assess the Salah situation? Obviously, he's got his 3 goals last night. I'm sure you as a Liverpool fan, you'll be hoping he'll take some confidence from that and bring it into the City game. But it's not been great from this season. What is he on? Is he on 2 Premier League goals, maybe? None?
Oh, Premier League goals, I don't know. I couldn't tell you Premier League. He's on more than 2. I believe if I had to have a guess, the chat can correct me, but about 4. No more than 4, I wouldn't suggest. In the Champions League, he's got significantly more. I think it's 9 goals in all competitions. So in terms of overall numbers, not too bad. However, it's still not vintage Mo Salah. And to the standards he set, it does make you wonder, is it the big contract? Is it the fact that he's just getting older and we've misjudged the timing of keeping him at the club? Did the risk of letting him go for nothing and getting into the last year with the potential of him going to another European rival for free, did that outweigh the sort of element of, okay, how many goals can he score for us? Can he still be beneficial to us? And I think there's a healthy balance there. I think he's not as good as what he was, so maybe giving him the biggest contract of his career didn't make the most sense. But what he can still offer is still something useful to the all-round team, and that is goals, and that is being able to come off the bench and chip in with a couple. And it's just a shame we can't do what you do, which is not only have one player who's good for that position, but 2 players good for each position. And then, not even to mention, if you guys have a problem at right back to where, say, if Kyle Walker drastically just ended up being finished, the pace went and he just started going really bad at footy and you needed a new right back, you could just go to like one of the 12 clubs that you own and just be like, we'll take him. We'll take him. Yeah, why not? We'll take him. You know what I mean? And he sounds, and I don't know, like, I'm obviously, that's just a joke, but in this instance, we're just not as flexible with the options of players that we can bring in. And the lack of preparation and all that in between, I think it's just caused Mohamed Salah to be burnt out. And I think that's why we're not seeing the same flair, the same pace, the same explosiveness from Mohamed Salah that we haven't been seeing over recent years. So it's not only the congestion of games, but think about it from Jurgen's point of view. When you're competing against City, you've got to win every single week. You've got to play Salah every single week if you want to win football matches, especially when he's been getting the goals that he has. However, if we had a Riyad Mahrez to bring on the pitch, maybe you don't have to play Mohamed Salah week in, week out, because
you don't want Riyad Mahrez. You don't want Riyad Mahrez on the pitch right now.
Is he playing shit at the moment?
He's not great. I love Riyad. I love him.
That's your standards. That's your standards. He'd be brilliant for a mid-table team like us. It'd be sound. Are you mad? Hugh, we'd be flying with Riyad Mahrez. Pass him to us.
It's the transfer business. You know what, James? At Liverpool over the last 2 windows has baffled me a little bit. I thought you made a really shrewd signing in Luis Diaz. And do you actually, before I get on to the transfer business in general, do you think Luis Diaz, the signing of him, kind of spelt the end for Sadio Mane's time at Liverpool anyway?
I think that was already done. I think we actually, I think what influenced, because we were linked with Luis Diaz anyway. He was going to go to Tottenham, but I think we were going to probably try and sweep him for that deal regardless if Mane was to stay or go, because we know that we wanted to improve the squad and whatnot. But Mane was already talking about wanting to leave. He has the same agents as Robert Lewandowski. If you believe there was no intertwine of the agents of getting Lewandowski to Barcelona and then Mane to Bayern Munich, I don't know. And also there was meetings and stuff. And when you look at it from Mane's point of view, it's more money, it's more trophies, it's guaranteed everything. It's not as competitive as much as I rate the Bundesliga, and I think people give it too much shit. I really, really do. I think you get some top. Yeah. When you look at the best players in our league, it's from the French league, it's from the Bundesliga, it's from Spain. It's not usually like Harry Kane's the only one who would say is one of the best in his position. Really, everyone else very debatable in terms of English players, in my opinion. I don't know. I think at the moment it's just a congestion of things. I was actually thinking about asking you, Hugh, if you had to identify one of the main issues right now, because I've been asking a lot of other fans about it. What do you think the main issue is at the moment for us, and why we can't build that consistency?
Wow, it's that's a big question. I was going to ask you that question, and
not easy, is it?
It's not easy. It ain't easy. But, before I answer, there's a really funny comment here. I don't know. Is this a guy who comes into your streams regularly? He says his name's Sharky Meldrew.
His name's Sharky. I knew it was Sharky. Oh, James is the type of guy to what? Go on, tell me.
James is the type of guy to go to the Apple store and ask if they sell apples. Is that a recurring theme on your show? What's that about?
That's an inside thing that the James Redmond TV fan base has decided to build up. So James is the type of guy to see a see-through wall and still break to see what's on the other side. James is the type of guy to sleep underneath his bed. James is the type of guy to put his chips on top of his sauce. Like, I don't know, lad. Like, there's been loads of them. Loads.
There's nothing wrong with putting your chips on top of your sauce. You know, if you want to do that, go for it. You know, big up the James Redmond community. Okay, big up the James Redmond community.
I reckon the last one, seedy, sleeping on your bed under your bed as well. I just don't know how to get these preconceptions off me, lads. That makes no sense to me.
Listen, James, if that's how you operate, I'm not going to give you a stick for that. You do your thing. You're absolutely smashing it.
Lads.
Listen, big up the James Redmond community. If there's anybody here who's come over from James Redmond's channel, big up to you. Thank you for coming in. And all of you, there's about 40, 50 people in the building right now. Make sure you have smashed the like button. Show support to the channel. We're currently on the road to 4K. We're getting there very fast. I would love to hit 4,000 very soon. We can get these great guests on more regularly if you guys show the support for the channel. So massively thank you for that. Listen, I deflected from your question there massively, and I apologise. What is the issue at Liverpool Football Club right now? And going into the season, the question over Liverpool was 7th season syndrome for Klopp, and I'm sure you're absolutely sick of hearing that 7th season syndrome, because I always felt it was going to be a myth, and I think it is a myth, because Klopp is such a good manager. What he gets out of his players and what he has done over the past few years is nothing short of phenomenal. I don't think they actually get enough credit for keeping up with our team. I'm perfectly humble, and I acknowledge the fact that we have a superpower team. We have a superpower manager. We have great finances. We can season in, season out, hit that kind of 90-point benchmark. But with the resources you have at hand, it's not realistic to keep up with us. So what you did was fantastic. But my issue with Liverpool was they didn't spot and identify the areas in which they needed to improve in time. Something we saw with Pep Guardiola and Manchester City over the last, I'd say 3-4 transfer windows really was we saw way before we needed to, right in time, where we will need to strengthen up over the next 18 to 24 months. We got rid of our Jesuses, our Sterlings, great players, great servants to the club, doing well at their current respective clubs, but respectfully, they are not City standard. They were not going to be City standard. We identified that there's a good chance we're going to lose Gundogan or Bernardo next summer. We brought in Calvin Phillips to offer us that kind of versatile midfield sort of player. Same with Akanji coming in, who can play at right back, Sergio Gomez, who can play at left back, because Kyle Walker isn't getting any younger. And it's these kind of things I think we're doing very efficiently. We're doing what you need to do to keep refreshing and keep building. I don't think that's something Liverpool have done effectively, if you like. I mean, looking at your business over the summer, I do want to ask you about the Darwin Nunez signing, because it is something that baffles me a bit. I think you could have got maybe not as good a player as Darwin Nunez straight away, but a very good striker for a lot less money, and then, you know, invest into the area that you really, really do need backup in midfield. And you know, you bought then Arthur Melo on the last day of the season. It seemed like a panic buy. I just don't understand your business. With our business and the signings we make, I find it very clear and obvious. I understand the plan and the strategy we're going with. In terms of Liverpool signings, I don't really understand.
If I break it down like this, because I want to try and help you understand, Hugh, because I do a lot of analysing when it comes to Liverpool behind the scenes and the stuff like that. So do you know your executive, or one of your executives? Am I right in saying that they used to work at Barcelona as well?
Most of them did.
Yes. So a very similar team that are there to when Barcelona was, Pep Guardiola as well. So you've got that structure there, and then you've got the resources to do it. So with those resources, with the fact that Pep Guardiola, when he was at Barcelona, he's the best man to be in the best team. If you want to get the best players in a group, you want Pep Guardiola to manage those group of players. So it's not just a case of, oh, he's got the best players. Best players don't always have it up here. Sometimes they still need direction. They still need that incentive. Pep Guardiola can offer those things from a coach point of view. The executives can identify those things from an executive point of view, because that's exactly what they need to do. And if you're Manchester City and you're looking to see what they are trying to achieve as an entity, owning all these clubs and getting the sponsorships in that they're doing, and they're doing everything brilliant, by the way. There's plenty of clubs who have got money and I haven't done it to the level of what Manchester City have done it. So I don't want to just bring up money and be like, oh, it's only the money. I talk about expectations. So your expectation, you accept nothing less than being first, because you'd be disappointed investing as much as you have into your youth academy, investing as much as you have into other ventures within football, like other football clubs and stuff like that. You'd be disappointed if you weren't able to compete on all fronts for every trophy, season in, season out, and especially your owners, because the money that you put in to get that same reward, it's actually not a huge risk because your owners aren't worried about their bank accounts going too low because it's not really a big fraction of their bank account. FSG, on the other hand, so yeah, now let's talk about a man who is also rich or a company that is also rich but doesn't necessarily have that same level of spending power. From their point of view as a businessman, especially an American business owner, nothing against American people, by the way, but purely the model that they have demonstrated since taking over the Premier League. Why go out and spend 150 million on Jude Bellingham or 50 million on Calvin Phillips when that might get you one step closer to the league, but it doesn't guarantee you the league? Or would you rather just finish top four, generate the majority of your money, which is the Champions League revenue anyway, and then just go off that? So it's a much smaller risk going with the second option and just go hoping for Champions League, but yet it still maximises immense revenue. Not to mention about the Champions League model that's coming in a few seasons as well, where teams are going to be able to add more, generate more money and stuff like that, play more games, get more sponsors, get more advertisements. Nothing but beneficial financially wise, especially for the owners of football clubs. FSG want to be there by then. So think about it from FSG's point of view. They found a man in Jurgen Klopp. They've never really backed him for spending, besides when they've sold a big asset. Now, it's not because they don't have no money, but it's because that's a chance where they're like, okay, we've got all the money that we've made from Champions League finals, Premier Leagues and stuff like that over here, but now we've got 140 million from Coutinho that we can give to you. So a bit different because the Premier League and Champions Leagues happened after the Coutinho sale, but that's the premise. So we're waiting for that other big player to go, so then we can bring that big player in. Because FSG think Jurgen Klopp got top two last year with these players. He got to a Champions League final. He won 2 trophies. Surely, even if we do get worse with no more investment, we're not going to get that much worse. And I think it's just done a big U-turn on them, and that's why we're seeing the results that we are right now. We haven't got the preparation. They didn't take into consideration the injuries that we had literally 2 seasons ago, Hugh. Weren't even that long ago. So when I break it down to you from that point of view, maybe that can help you understand more why the lack of investment, why we're not out getting players, and the realisation that Jurgen Klopp just doesn't have as much influence as people believe, but yet he's being told to do with what he's got, and he's done that really, really well, probably to the point where we've overachieved. We never had a right to compete with you lot. We never had a right. In my opinion, I don't think we did. I think when we sold Coutinho, that gave us a bigger chance, and we got the manager at the right time. Just perfect timing. If it weren't for that, then you never know. And yeah, examples of the seven season curse, which I'm not sick of hearing about it because I'll say the same thing every single time. I don't know what he does in his eighth season. I don't know what he does in the 9th, the 10th. When he left Dortmund, have Dortmund won a Bundesliga since? No. Ever since he left Dortmund? Ever since he left Mainz, yet he might have got back to the Bundesliga, but are you telling me if Klopp stayed, he wouldn't have been able to get Mainz back to the Bundesliga? How does he do in a rebuild? He hasn't been given a rebuild. So I'm not even saying this to you, Hugh. I'm saying this to fans who like to believe that that's the only factor of why we're shit at the moment, but you'll ignore the owners, you'll ignore the lack of investment, and you won't put everything collectively. So it's not a bad thing. Same way you have Fernandinho last season, it's not a bad thing to keep hold of Fernandinho. Whereas he can't play week in, week out, starting week in, week out, season in, season out.
Like Milner for you. Like James Milner for you.
Like Milner, but Fernandinho's well better. But you get the point, though. It's the same premise of if Man City want to be competing for Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues year in, year out, Fernandinho shouldn't be starting week in, week out. So let's go and get a Rodri who's going to be that temporary backup. Might not settle in straight away, so we'll still deal with Fernandinho because he's still good enough. But then Rodri can develop into the player that he's became and boom, and we can afford to spend that 30, 40 million on Rodri. Liverpool don't see it from that same perspective because we still believe the players that we've got's good enough to get top 4. Therefore, we're still good enough to get that Champions League revenue. Therefore, American owners happy bye-bye because they're doing everything they need to do to maximise their bank accounts. Does that make any sort of sense?
It does make sense. I actually find it really interesting because I know there's a lot of controversy over fans around a lot of clubs in England, and they're not happy with the way their owners operate. And I have to say, without being too arrogant, the way my club operates and the way my board operates, I absolutely love. We prioritise winning trophies. And it seems to be, and from what you're saying, if you can challenge for trophies, which Klopp has done and over-exceeded, fantastic. But would I be right in saying that the main goal is revenue every single season, maximizing your revenue by being in that elite club of European clubs every single year and, competing at the highest level when you can, but not actually winning the silverware is the priority?
Yeah, I don't think it is our priority. I think if it was our priority, the transfers would speak different. Every great manager you've ever heard of, Pep Guardiola, Sir Alex Ferguson have said, and represented as well, that you always need to bring in new faces. And the lack of new faces that we brought in, anyone who thinks that's just Jurgen Klopp's choice to not bring in new faces, anyone in any profession, why would you not take more resources to help you do better at your job? Tell me how that makes sense. Or tell me what makes more sense of that. Or the idea that maybe they're just not giving him the money to spend, therefore he has to come out and say, yeah, we're happy with the squad. We're happy with the squad.
I do think he has spent, though. I do think he has spent, though. I don't think it's a case of he's getting absolutely nothing. My issue, like I said at the very beginning, was the way they're spending sometimes baffles me. What was it, 60 million on Keita? He hasn't turned out to be a huge success. You spent the 85 or so on Darwin Nunez. Granted, we're still waiting to see what he can bring. He's clearly a very good player, and it's just a matter of letting him bed in. Not every single striker is going to hit the ground running like Erling fucking Haaland, basically. 80 million on Dijk.
We got Luis Diaz recently, and then we sold Mane. So we literally had Luis Diaz for a 6 month period before we sold Mane. So that's one example of where it was a like-for-like change. Darwin Nunez, we've been looking for an out-and-out number 9 anyway. Give that time before we start proper judging it. I'll tell you about Darwin in a sec, though, because I'm not the biggest fan. What the point is that you brought in Rodri for the whole season before he had that chance to proper kick in and really go for it. You brought in Riyad Mahrez for the whole season before he really had the chance. Like, there's so many examples. John Stones didn't kick off straight away. Like, there's so many examples of players that you've brought that didn't settle in straight away, but were allowed to be embedded into the team. Take that years of however much wages that they were on, because City can afford to take that time, and they can afford to keep the Fernandinhos, who are still on big wages, but can still add something to your team now while these players are developing. Whereas when we bring in a big player like Calvin Phillips, even though we haven't brought him in, but say we brought in someone like that, then we have to let go of Fabinho because there's not that healthy balance. Or it doesn't make sense financially for the owners to have this player on this much a week, but he's not playing much, and this player on this much a week, but he's not playing much, especially when they've proven they can get top 4 without having those excessive options like what City have. Do you get the premise?
No, I do. Genuinely. I'm not completely ignorant to the fact that we have far more resources to allow us to excel.
It's not even about you have more money and that's why you're higher. Not even about that. It's just your expectation. You want to win trophies. Well done. You're doing exactly just that. We want to get top 4. Might not this season, but otherwise we've been doing more than that. That's what I believe.
And there's no denying that you did completely overachieve over the last 5 years. But listen, we could spend all day talking about the ins and outs of how Liverpool Football Club operates. Yeah. It's a big conversation, and I genuinely could listen to it all day because I find it most interesting coming from someone who goes to the games and spends their life talking about Liverpool Football Club. But you said Darwin Nunez. We have a striker who is, like I said, absolutely hit the ground running. He smashed it all summer. When you signed Nunez, we signed Haaland. The conversation was who's going to be better, who's going to hit the ground running quicker, who's going to get more goals, Nunez versus Haaland. Obviously, at the moment, Haaland is doing that. How do you analyze the Nunez situation, and how do you assess what he's brought to your team in comparison to what has been there before? I think you've had to slightly tweak the way you play to fit in Darwin Nunez. Would I be right in saying that? Yeah,
so putting Salah more out wide, which doesn't suit Salah. Spamming way more crosses into the box than usual. Very strange. I don't get the signing of Darwin Nunez. I'm not the biggest fan of his first touch. I'm not the biggest fan of his dribbling. And I don't think he's an elite finisher. I'd rather Isaac, who went to Newcastle. I'd rather many other strikers who moved all over Europe and we couldn't get them. Dybala to Roma. Like, I'd rather Dybala than fucking Darwin Nunez. 100%. And it's not that I get a lot of shit for my point of views on Nunez. Never do I go anything beyond constructive on football. It's not my style to call players names, and it's not my style to, go into a sense where like I'm bullying players and I'm trying to create a wave of people who negatively attack those players. All I do is be constructive in your point of views and back them up. When I watched those goal compilations before Nunez joined, I said I didn't like him. There's a video on the Cop TV TikTok that went viral of me saying I didn't want Nunez before he joined. So it's not just something that I'm jumping onto now. I never got involved in the Nunez versus Haaland debates. I had a laugh when Nunez scored in the Community Shield and was like, oh, it's Nunez, he's 1-0 up. But it doesn't mean that I thought he was going to be better than Haaland, because guess what? Haaland's been doing the damn thing in teams where they're not the best team in the league. I knew he was going to score goals. No one could have expected the goals that he's been getting, but I knew he was going to score goals. I still believe the narrative that Salah just gave him a head start because he felt sorry for the kids and he's going to catch up. But otherwise, I just genuinely believe that Haaland is just a really, really good fucking goal scorer. That should have never been a conversation. And I don't think Nunez will be the right man for us in the future. However, if you do get the best out of Nunez, I believe all you're going to see, Hugh, is 15 to 20 goals in a Premier League campaign, most of them being chances provided to him and tap-ins and stuff. And that's the best you'll get out of him, but you won't see him dribbling past players and scoring world-class goals, which seems to be the narrative a lot of Liverpool fans were painting when he joined.
It's an interesting one, the Nunez situation, and you're right that it is taken away from Salah's game because he is being forced to play further out right when he likes to come in and do his thing there. But Curtis O'Hara in the chat makes a point. He says Firmino over Nunez every day of the week, and I find it kind of hard to argue with that right now. I'm looking at Firmino and I'm saying this guy has upped his game. If there's any player in that Liverpool squad right now I look at and says, you know what, we need to push on, I need to grab this by the bollocks and get goals or lead the team, I think it's Bobby Firmino. I was never a massive fan of him as a player, even though he frustrated me at times, but he's doing his thing right now. But slightly now moving into the game on Sunday, could you really take Nunez out and put Firmino in when this is such a big game, a great opportunity for Nunez to get, would it be his first Anfield goal, or would I be right in saying that, and maybe boost from there?
Yeah, it would be his first Anfield goal. I even think if you include Champions League in that, it would be. No, I don't think it's a bad thing to say don't start Nunez now. Just because he was 65 million doesn't mean the best thing to do is just play him straight away. You can still embed him into the team.
But you see what I'm saying? But you see what I'm saying? The critics will say, you sign a player for 85 million and he doesn't play in the big games. What's the story with that? And that will be a pressure on Klopp.
Fuck critics, fuck them, because as far as I'm concerned, Klopp is in a custody position, and I will respond to the critics because I know that's the topic of discussion. I'm not trying to say let's just not talk about it. What I'm saying is what they say doesn't matter, doesn't have any influence. It's about winning games of football. Roberto Firmino is a better player, so starting Roberto Firmino in this game is more beneficial to getting you the result. Guess what? If you get a draw or if you get a win, Liverpool have exceeded the expectations going into this game, which therefore, do you know, these same critics who were saying, you shouldn't start Firmino over Darwin Nunez, they'd shut up. But guess what? If you went with Darwin Nunez and we still lost anyway, or if you went with Firmino and we lost anyway, them same critics are going to be there because of where we are in the league. Fucking hell, Manchester City can draw 2 games in a row and already people are on Pep Guardiola's back. But they'll forget about all the Premier Leagues and all the great moments and all the points accumulations that he's had in previous seasons. So it's very difficult to just go off the premise of, he's starting Nunez and he's got to start Nunez, and if he doesn't start Nunez is 22. Just treat him like a youth academy player, embed him into the team and hope eventually we have 10 world-class players around him who can just constantly put the ball into him so we can get goals. But right now we don't have that, and we need to improve the all-round team. If everyone else was firing and not Nunez, then it's not a really big issue. You can give him time and whatnot and try and get on the end of. Right now, we're in dire straits to where we need every player to be contributing as much as they can to the team. And besides getting on the end of chances, I don't think, Hugh, that Nunez contributes that much. But that's not me trying to hate on him. It's not me trying to be a little shit and say Nunez is shit. I like Nunez. I want him to do well. I want him to prove me wrong. I just don't think he will.
I think it's an unfortunate situation for Nunez that Haaland is doing so well. They're the exact same age. They're both 22, but you're right. In a normal situation, you just let the 22-year-old learn and, grow into his new team, get to know his teammates, get to know the style of play. And that's the right thing to do. I'm not suggesting Liverpool are doing anything wrong with Darwin Nunez. He's just being put under a lot of exterior pressure by the fact that his supposed direct rival for goals and Golden Boot is absolutely smashing it in a freak situation. It's not normal what Haaland is doing.
But it's a lot of Liverpool fans' fault, though. Liverpool fans have put Nunez in this position and elevated him to this pedestal to where Nunez is on Haaland's level. He's had one good season for Benfica, which, listen, I don't take any credit away just because it was in the Portuguese league. The same way I won't take anything from Haaland when I was looking at him at friggin' Red Bull Salzburg or whatever and scoring goals, and I still thought, he is boss. He's boss. He scores goals in the Champions League. He's a top goal scorer. I know he's the real deal. Nunez scored 2 goals against us. Bear in mind, he's a striker that runs in behind. He's got lightning pace. Yet, we've got one of the most susceptible high-line tactical setups to where if you're in behind the defence striker, that's going to suit you most. So, but people thought, he's dead sick because he scored against Van Dijk. We played a high line. He got him behind the high line. He's never done the offside trap properly. It's his game. If anything, that's the perfect game for him to score in. So I feel like Liverpool fans have done this to Nunez, and I feel that it is probably only going to get worse because all it takes is for Nunez to have a bad game, and I haven't saw him have a good all-round game yet for Liverpool. So he just needs to score goals and just do what Haaland's doing, get a few touches, hopefully score with those few touches, and then they'll start getting on your, or getting off your back, should I say.
It's an interesting one, Nunez, isn't it? And I do feel for him in that situation. Everything he said is spot on, and just let him do his thing and grow into it. I view Nunez similar to how I view our substitute number 9, if you like, and Julian Alvarez. We're just allowing him to settle in and grow and develop.
And he's probably better than Nunez.
I don't know. We haven't seen enough of Alvarez. We've seen his compilations. We've seen him score a few goals for City, but he's never had that pressure yet of having to be the main man leading the line, whereas Nunez is getting that straight away. And for a 22-year-old, all three of them are 22. Nunez, Haaland, and Alvarez. But Nunez is probably put under the most pressure here because he's not competing with Haaland, and he's been told to lead the line at the age of 22 years old in one of the biggest, highest achieving football teams in world football over recent years.
I think you can just tell when you look at them, watch them play, and then you can find out more about who's a better all-round player and whatnot. I think Julian Alvarez, more technical than Nunez. I don't know if you agree or disagree on this one. I think he is definitely more technical. I think he probably got more technical than Haaland.
I think he's more technical than Haaland as a first touch and all that. You know what I mean?
No, he is. Haaland doesn't need to be technical because he's so freakishly just physical and quick and explosive, and it's something that, like, he bodies all the top centre backs, all of them. He broke Virgil van Dijk's finger, I think, in like a shoulder. No, sorry. Yeah, I think he broke his finger or something in like a shoulder barge. I don't even know what happened, but like he literally just caught his finger in the Netherlands and where's he from? Norway game or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, lads. We've got a big Norwegian fan base as well. I just think we missed the trick when we didn't sign Haaland from Salzburg. You know, Hugh, I'm fucking devout, lads. We should have signed him or Odegaard. One of those two would have suited our system.
It's funny you say that, James, because I know a journalist very well who does guest lectures in the university I used to go to, and he's a top football journalist in Norway. And way back before Haaland was even linked with City, he was saying there's this young Norwegian talent. I promise you, he's going to be a sensation, and he's desperate to go to Liverpool. He really wants to play for Liverpool. Erling Haaland wants to play for Liverpool. This was before Erling Haaland was Erling Haaland. So, you know, it's crazy to think what could have been Haaland at Liverpool. But listen, once again, we could spend all day talking about the strikers. I want to move slightly into this game. We spoke about Nunez and what impact he could have in this game, but Haaland, what impact he can have in this game. You spoke about the high line. I said that's Nunez's game, but it's very much also Haaland's game. We have to start with the big man up front. How do you feel, or what do you think is the best way, and how do you feel about going into this game with your defence obviously missing Trent, missing Matip, who Matip I think has been possibly your best centre-half alongside Konate for a long time because Virgil van Dijk hasn't been there. How do you feel about this diminished sort of Liverpool backline going up against the most hot striker in world football right now?
Just hang on. Do what you can. You know what I mean? Just do what you can. Get Fabinho on him, get fucking Konate on him, get Van Dijk on him. And if all three of you can't stop him, then A for effort. You know what I mean? A for effort. We go again. I don't really know how to stop Haaland because no one's done it yet. Once I've seen it being done, sound, I'll say so. I think the only way that you do it is man marking him throughout a whole entire game. Much easier said than done. I think you need to have the capabilities, the physicality, and the awareness to be able to outsmart someone like Haaland, because his positioning is actually phenomenal. And on top of that, as well as awareness for the goal, his speed, his strength. It's not just. Do you know what's funny? And this is going slightly off the topic of why I'm scared of Haaland, but it's to relate to very much so. It's like, do you know when people say that Liverpool have been caught out? That's so bollocks, you, because we haven't been caught out. Do you know when people play City? You know they're going to pass it round you. You know they're going to run more than you. And you know the basic tactical part of their game. But the reason why you can't stop it is because their players are just way better than your players. And they're playing in a system which is making them even better. So not only have they got the base talent, they've also now got the tactical prowess to be able to maximise their performance. So even though you know what's happening, you still can't stop it. You're still going to get spanked 5-0. Liverpool players now just can't do what they could do before. So teams always knew we were a gegenpressing side. Teams always knew we had a high line. No one could stop it, though. And it's because we physically could keep up with them. So to relate that back to Haaland, you know how to stop Haaland. There's ways to stop Haaland. But you need to have the resources like strength and speed and stuff and IQ when it comes to the game to be able to actually defend them. And putting all those three things together, I'm sorry, Hugh, no one's Superman. You know what I mean? And I don't think we have Superman in our defence either. Virgil van Dijk on top form yet. Right now, he doesn't look anything close to that. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure, but I think we're just going to have to get 3 man up on him, pause, and hope for the best.
Are you feeling very negative about this Sunday's fixture altogether? I'm seeing a lot of negativity from Liverpool fans, particularly on Twitter and online and that kind of thing, suggesting that it could be a complete shit show. It could be a riot, and that puts pressure on us essentially to do the business.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the game overall? Not just Haaland. I know Haaland is obviously the main talking point, and in the build up to the game, everyone's going to talk about Haaland versus Van Dijk, Van Dijk's Anfield record. But listen, it's 11 players versus 11 players. Salah's hat trick, he's just got it there last night. He has to be feeling better about himself. Firmino's playing quite well. There is some positives here. Trent, he's obviously, would you consider him a big loss, James? He's not playing well, to put it lightly.
No. I never wish injury on anyone unless it's like Erling Haaland where he stubs his toe and that means he can't play the game. Not serious. Just before City fans say, you wish them to be injured. It's just like, hang on a minute, I said a stub toe, you know what I mean? You can say that for a family member and it sounds. Anyway, Trent, not a big miss at all. Joe Gomez, I thought, had a good game against Rangers. Yes, it's Rangers, but he got an assist. He got 2 assists from right back last year as well, actually, and that was from like 5 performances at right back. So Gomez has shown good performances there. I'm happy to see him there. I think he's going to stand his ground more against your wingers. I'm not saying he's going to do a great job because you can't just expect him to do a great job just because he's better than Trent defensively. However, he's better. I think he's more... I feel more comfortable with Gomez there, if that makes sense. Trent out is something I'm intrigued by because I think it gives Gomez a chance to showcase himself and show Jurgen why he's just got that contract extension. I'm assuming you're going to ask me about the other 2 injuries as well. There's a big injury list, isn't there? You're missing quite a few key players. Oh yeah, Matip. So Matip is out for the next 2 weeks, so same time as Trent, which is huge. But Kanate had a good game against Rangers, so you never know. And with that physicality, I was talking about with Haaland, maybe Kanate is actually a better suit than what Joe Matip is.
He's a bull, man. Kanate's a bull. He's a strong boy.
Them 2 go in for the shoulder badge. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Do you want to bet 50p on who's winning a shoulder badge?
Go on then.
I don't know. Stick it on the line. We'll go risky on this one. Might even up to £1. Nah, lad. I genuinely believe that'd be an intriguing one. And then Diaz, someone who scored a few goals against you before, for Porto specifically, off the inside of the right foot and stuff. He had a few chances in the Community Shield as well. I think he could have really gave you a push. I do. I think Diaz could have. He was the only one who I thought could have got at your defence. Now I'm not sure. Maybe if Salah grows here's the thing with Salah, right? I am this close to saying he is the new Aubameyang, Hugh. And not because...
Wow.
No. Not because I don't like Salah. He is a legend. The one thing I love about Salah, he's certified as a legend at my football club. He could be shit for the next 3 seasons and he's sorted. But if it's 10 games, I'm not going to say he's finished. If it's 15 games, I'm not going to say he's finished. Maybe I could my delusional Liverpool scouse brain could push to 20 games and I won't think he's finished. But now that it's been 45 games and he's got 11 open play goals, well, now that the Rangers game has taken place, that'll be different. But the fact that even was the case, if he does go back to being shit and you do play... Say if we go back to playing him on the inside right forwards and he's still not influencing the game, that's when I've got to sit there and say, okay, so we might have just signed you on a contract when we probably shouldn't have. Maybe we shouldn't have. We thought you were going to get back onto form. You didn't get back into form. And I don't know, like I'm probably about 5 games away from that. If he plays the next 5 games below a 6, yeah, definitely. Because bear in mind, this has been going on since January. And we're getting towards January 2023. So, I don't know, lads. I'm not saying that doesn't mean I want him sold or anything like that. It's too late now. We've got him on the contract. But it's just about realising that he's just not as good as what he was before, if it continues for the next couple of games. Until you actually explain it to me, the Aubameyang comparison, it actually now makes sense. You know, the whole big money contract, and then it falls off a little bit. And listen, we all know with Mohamed Salah, the ability that guy's got, even at 31, 32, he's still an absolutely terrific footballer, and it's just kind of waiting there to be unleashed. In the same mentality of Manchester City, because guess what? As much as my owners don't have them expectations, as a Liverpool fan who is trophy-wise the most successful club in the country, I want trophies, and the way I know that is by noticing that someone like Salah might just not be as good as what they was before. So although they'd be fucking brilliant for, I don't know, friggin' Napoli or Rangers, I don't know, 2 very different comparisons there. I don't know where my brain was going, but you get what I mean. Just a slightly lower caliber side, can still score goals for them, but he's not good enough to be winning Liverpool Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. If this form continues, if he's only getting 11 goals in a period of 45 games or 11 open play goals, you tell me if you dispute anything. Do you think that's good enough to win us Premier League titles or anything?
Absolutely not, but you would have expected it from him.
Of course, but you make mistakes and you've got to adapt to mistakes. And if you decide to ignore mistakes that you've made, like possibly signing Salah on a contract extension, then why are you going to keep him at the club? Not why are you going to keep him at the club. Why are you not just going to neglect that and just try and make it work when you can go out there in the short term and buy someone new and have them both playing?
I'm sure Salah will know in his head that if he puts in a good performance and gets a result against City this weekend, it'll be a massive turning point for him. But listen, we're not going to stream too much longer because James has stuff to do. We could keep him all day. I could listen to this guy all day. It's some of the most entertaining stuff.
I ramble loads, don't I? I ramble absolutely loads.
I love it, mate. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic content, and you're not talking bollocks either. It's a fantastic skill to be able to ramble and not talk too much shite. It's something I'm trying to work on myself. Do you know what I mean? Listen, before we get into the last sort of 5-10 minutes, there was about 70 people in the building there a second ago. Make sure you've all smashed the like button, get the likes up. We're still on the road to 4,000. I'd absolutely love to hit 4,000 subs very soon, so all your support massively appreciated, and show some love to James, of course, as well. His links are in the description. If you don't already follow him, make sure you do, and go and watch his YouTube channel. He does some hilarious watch-alongs. I was watching one last night. It's great to see him back doing the streams and doing his watch-alongs. Some of the funniest shit you'll watch, honest to God, people. But listen, like I said, in terms of this game on Sunday, I said if Salah can help the team get a result and get them maybe against the odds 3 points, it will be a massive statement for Liverpool. What are your expectations moving forward? If you were to beat City this Sunday, do you think there is a slight chance of a title race again, or are you looking forward to just top 4?
Oh, I'll bite your hands off for top 4.
Really?
Defo. Nah, do you know what? I'd wing it until January, and then January I'll fucking scran your arm for top 4. If we're still not in the position where we could get it, I will scran your arm for it. Manchester City are defo winning the league for me. I rate Arsenal this season. It's like two top UFC fighters. They've been at the top of the game for a long time. An example that's coming to my brain is, do you know Khabib and Tony Ferguson?
Yeah.
That rivalry, like they were the two best lightweights for years and years and years in the UFC. And as somewhat, like we're like the Tony Ferguson, we fell off. You're like the Khabib, you just kept going and winning fights. As Tony Ferguson, even though as someone who was at the top of the game, I know that Arsenal are just not good enough to beat Khabib. So in this case, I don't know, who's a young lightweight who's coming to my brain? Drew Dober. You won't know who he is because he's a young lightweight in the UFC. But Drew Dober, he's not going to beat you. Even though he's upcoming and he's a prospect, I know what it takes to beat someone like City. They haven't got the facilities in this case, so it's Arsenal. And that's why I just think, even if we win this game, as much as that's huge for confidence and just to laugh for a weekend, you know what I mean? Because I don't know the last time that I had a good Premier League weekend. I don't think it means anything significantly when it comes to the title race, because we've still got Diaz out till after the World Cup. We've still got Matip out for 2 more weeks. We've still got Trent, who's playing a bit below par. And if we were going into this game with poor results but good performances, I can be like, do you know what? We can build off that. But besides Bournemouth and besides Rangers, I haven't saw really any good performances. And Ajax, otherwise nothing where I can say that's a good performance.
Would you say it's the end of an era in terms of you challenging season in, season out for league trophies and that kind of thing? Are you going to become a cup team maybe? There's still a Champions League there to play for. Is it the end of an era, that beautiful golden era that unfortunately it has been rather shit on by Pep Guardiola?
Probably. But all eras come to an end. It's like, City.
It's cyclical, isn't it? Football's cyclical. You can't always.
But like even City, your football club has dominated the last 10 years, but eras of specific 11s that you had still came to an end, if that makes sense. So like the team that won the FA Cup, like Joe Hart and all that, you know what I mean? It's this, like that's gone. That's an era that was finished. And then you bring in like Aguero. Aguero was there, but then you go later on down the line and you buy Gabriel Jesus's, and then David Silva's go and companies go, I think the argument that I think a lot of people have mistaken from Liverpool fans when we try and compare our team to some of the best of all time isn't to say that we're as good as United when they dominated for 15 years. We're not talking about our structure. We was talking about our 11. And I think as someone who came up against our 11, from an 11 standpoint, it's one of the greatest 11s you're ever going to come up against, see, or watch play. And I think that was the argument that we always made, is that the way we won the Premier League, and I'm not going to lie, I've never seen a team finish second more impressively than us. We lost one game the season we finished second. We got 97 points and we won the Champions League. Tell me a team. Sir Alex Ferguson's highest ever points tally was 91 points. We got more than that last season when we finished second. So if you're telling me when we finished 97 points, 1 point behind Manchester City, and won a Champions League is not impressive, then that just means you ignore context. And unless you don't include context, then yet Jurgen Klopp is nowhere near the level of these top managers and doesn't deserve to be talked about, and Liverpool don't deserve to be in that conversation. But also remember, there was a time before Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool where FSG was still there. So if you want to attribute this down to one thing, attribute it to the period where we didn't have Jurgen Klopp, but we still had FSG, we still had Michael Edwards, we still had all these people who were supposedly huge figures for the football club to help us improve. Yet we were scoundering in 7th and 8th under Brendan Rodgers. Just be careful who you label the blame on, and emphasise just how good this team was made and because of one man. That's the only defence I have, Hugh. I defend my manager because he's gave me every reason to defend him. But that might come across as salty to some people, and that's right. I'm an emotional lawyer.
I'm a man of integrity. I'm a man of honesty, and I take my City hat off when I say this. I'm not wearing one, but I'd take my hat off if I was. What Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp achieved over the last few years was absolutely nothing short of extraordinary, and that's why people will look back on this era with such fondness and nostalgia, because the heights that both of us set together was absolutely amazing. And listen, I don't want to gas it up too much and say, we ruined your era, because you could come back and shit on us this Sunday. We're still waiting to see what happens on Sunday afternoon. So listen,
I think if anything, we made your era better, because you actually had a rival. I said this on the Big Six
last week. I said this on the Big Six, and everybody kind of laughed at me. I said I'm grateful to Klopp and Liverpool because they pushed us to hit the heights that we did.
Yeah. Like, you don't get last season Gundogan getting that goal and stuff like that without us pushing you all the way. Like, you don't get that. Because you knew in the back of your mind, shit, this Liverpool, they're going... Because we still hadn't done the job we needed to do in our game. But you knew in the back of your mind we were going to eventually. The same way that we know when you're behind a goal, we're like, City will come back. You know what I mean? It's that mutual respect. Like, listen, we know what they're about. We know that they're good at footy. Fucking hell, every preview that I've done over the seasons with City games... City fans are on edge, Liverpool fans are on edge. We're just sitting there like, don't know what's going to happen here, Don't know what's going. Even Steve yesterday, I don't want to give away his prediction, but he was on my channel and he was talking to me about like how close it could be, and I was like, Steve, if you've been seeing us play football, then you might just be saying it differently. It's a beautiful rivalry, lad, and you can say it that City ruined Liverpool's era. Well, maybe it was an era that Liverpool were never meant to be in or compete for, and we just made yours better. And I'd rather have those title races, create those experiences, get to those Champions League finals than not compete. So
absolutely, mate. Listen,
it was a beautiful era to me, lad.
I've had some of the best experiences of my life following City because of Liverpool in this title race. And people will say, I'm sure the people in the chat there, and people will talk about this kind of thing in general, they're not rivals, it's a friendly rival. It's a footballing rivalry. There's not that hatred, that blood red hatred between, say, Liverpool United or City United, whatever way you want to look at it. It's a footballing rivalry. There's respect from both managers. There's respect from both sets of fans. Even though you want to beat each other, you want to thump each other every time, you still appreciate what each other have done, what you pushed each other to. I was going to say, Deg, with you. Go on, you finish. You were on the pitch. You say what you were about to say. Yeah, I was just going to say, the big moment that stands out for me is the most recent one. In the last title race, I was on the pitch. I was 2 rows from the pitch when Gundogan scored that last-minute winner, and I ran onto the pitch. I celebrated. I hugged Jesus. I hugged Zinchenko. What a moment, man. I will never forget these kind of moments, and I only got them
both because... off to Arsenal. Fucking hell, you must have stunk, you.
I must have stunk.
Nice. If that's who's supporting us, you know what I mean?
If we win this season's league, I won't be hugging Haaland. I won't be going near Haaland anyway. You just need to smell me.
One of those, yes, Haaland, lads, Fitzy, bro.
But, what were you going to say? I was just saying that the memories are fantastic, and that's because of both teams and what they've done. Go on, what were you going to say?
Defo. Literally, all I was going to say is that along the lines of what you said, I think football is about those memories, and I think without those memories, then your football club is just not that meaningful. I'd rather be a team, weirdly enough, I'd rather be a team who'd competed for mid-table 99 times and relegation once than a team who competed for mid-table 100 times. Because you don't know what that feeling of success is like by either escaping something or achieving something. And it is about that memory. And I even said this to me Everton mates, and they thought that I was taking the piss, but I was like, this season was actually probably what you needed. You've been so nothing over the years, finishing mid-table and 12th and 8th and possibly Europa League, but then falling too short. A common theme, no matter who you had, whether it was Roberto Martinez or fucking Ronald Koeman or Carlo Ancelotti, you were still mediocre. At least last season, you got that element of, like, shit, something is on the line. And when something isn't on the line, football just isn't as enjoyable. And like you said, it's a footballing rivalry. It's a skillful rivalry. Not to do a UFC comparison again, but if you translate these same football fans who call us a friendly rivalry to UFC fans, all they want to see is Conor McGregor and trash talking. They don't want to see the respectful sides of the game, where that's where the true martial art stands out. And in this sense, this is where the true footballing art stands out. When City and Liverpool have played each other over the years, that has been peak games of football that you can say is some of the greatest games of football that you've seen in recent time. Fucking hell, last year, how close was all of our games? All of them. They were brilliant.
2-2 and 2-2, unbelievable.
2-2 and 2-2, like insane. And then we somehow got the nod in the FA Cup. Just quality rivalry is what I call it. And if people want to associate it with a friendly rivalry because they want to see headbutts, punches and shit like that, then that just shows to me you don't appreciate football that much. So I don't care what they call it. It brought great memories. And if it is over, then at least I'll get to remember my team lifting a Premier League, lad. Not many people can say that.
You know what, lads? He's absolutely spot on. He's just summed it up perfectly there. And I can't begrudge him for saying that, because I'd feel the exact same. You know, football is a game for enjoying at the end of the day. It's a tribal thing, but you want to enjoy it. You're a football fan first and foremost. Yeah. You want to create memories. Listen, we're going way over time. James is very kindly giving us time. But there's one question people are asking to you, James, a lot in the chat, and that I have to address. It is right. Andy Robertson, will he play on Sunday? Do you think he's going to feature?
Good question. Maybe, because he's been back for like a week in training now, and he came on against Rangers, and I think he's going to bring that energy that Tsimikas just doesn't have as much as him for the team for the game against you guys. But that being said, though, in fact, no, yeah, he will. I think because he's a better defender than Tsimikas. We need all the defensive outlooks that we can get in this game, and I do think one thing that City can expect. I don't think I've offered any in from how you can expect to see us set up. Don't expect the high line, in my opinion. I think we're going to go a lot more reserved. I think we're going to be a lot more defensive, and we're going to try and catch it on the break. So, nothing that you've not seen before, but just expect a different Liverpool, which is, I think, what's going to happen.
There you have it, people. He thinks Robertson will play, and he thinks there'll be a tweak in the way Klopp sets up his game, and I think that's pretty understandable. And listen, we're about to hit the hour mark. I told James we only do 45 minutes. I apologise for going over time. I was just really enjoying listening to you. It was a good conversation, I think. It was a good conversation. I really enjoyed that.
Well, I said to you before as well, Hugh, I don't like to go on loads of people's YouTube channels, but one thing that I like is discussion, debate, people who know what they're talking about, and lads, you've got all those things. So I made up one, that your channel's growing. Two, I want to see it continue growing. I love watching it on the Big Six. I'm such a huge fan. And I'm just glad you've engulfed yourself into this YouTube scene, because you definitely have a place in it, and you definitely put your team on a really, really good platform, and you represent them well. I didn't think anyone was going to be able to replace Big Steve, and I think you've done a fucking very fine job at it, my friend. So keep up the work. It was a pleasure to be on your channel. Love to come on again. And I'd love to get you on mine.
Legend, of course. Anytime you need me, I'll make time for you, of course.
Next week after the game, if you're down, I'd love to get you on.
I'll make time, mate. You let me know the time and place, and I'll make time. Absolute legend. Okay. Gentleman, James Redmond, people. If you haven't done so already, like I said, go follow his socials. They're linked in our description. Go subscribe to his channel. Great streams all the time. Funny guy. Knows his stuff. Go show him love. Go show him love from the 1894 community. We appreciate our guests, and this has been definitely one of my favorites, if not my most favorite. Thank you so much to James once again. We're back tomorrow night. Sorry, I'm on the Big Six tonight for another chat, probably with Grizz. It'll be all City Liverpool oriented.
I was going to remind you there. I was going to be like, you're on the Big Six, lad. Don't you you worry.
Good. Can't forget the Big Six. That'll be a big one. Tune in to the Big Six tonight. Then we're back tomorrow at 10:30 with Daps. We'll do more City specifically orientated. James very kindly spoke to us all about Liverpool. I learned a lot today. So I'm very grateful. Smash the like button, people. Hit the subscribe button. Get us to 4K. Get the channel to 4K. It'll be a massive goal for us. And we'll see you tomorrow again on this channel at 10:30. Joey Boy, wrap her up. Good night and God bless.
Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand.